In a world where anybody can give advice on the internet and call themselves an expert at something, you and I have to be incredibly careful where we are getting our author advice from. We need to make sure that our sources are qualified sources, which is why we always say on the channel, do not even begin to listen to anybody who has less than 3 books published, because that could be a fluke. It could be a happy accident. It could be something that they didn't do. But when they have at least 3 published books out in the world, they now have a strategy and they have proven results. You can see again and again and again, the things that they have done have led to success. It's incredibly important to make sure you are blocking out the noise from all the people who may want to be helpful and may be well-meaning, but are not giving you qualified advice. So today, we are going to talk to some author friends of mine with their best piece of advice for the author world. Each of them are going to break down their 30-second tip, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how you can be implementing this into your strategy for your publishing life as well. So let's dive in and meet my friends and their highly qualified advice.
So my best piece of writing advice is about writer's block. If you are sitting there with your manuscript and you are just stuck and you cannot see the way forward with the plot, get up, move, go and do something. Go and vacuum the house, go and dust, walk on the treadmill, walk the dog outside, have a shower. For some reason, having a shower is particularly effective. But just go and do something and don't sit there with your manuscript, and then your brain will be busily working away on it in the background, and all of a sudden, ting, you'll just have that moment and then you will see a way forward.
Now, I love this advice. This is something we talk about a lot here on the channel, and you've heard this again and again and again because it's so effective. If you are dealing with a situation where you do not have the creative capacity to move forward, or you're not quite sure what to do, or your brain is just fritzing out on you, because that happens sometimes, standing up, moving away, physically doing something else definitely can help. So we talk a lot about this on the channel, where I want you to get up and go do something. Claire was talking all about how you can go to the refrigerator and grab a snack. You can clean your house, or you can do something. And you can even take this to another level. You can go out of your house and you can do things. You can go run some errands, but I like to say, go do something creative. Do something that keeps you in that creative mindset, but is not writing. Whether that is a photo walk out in nature, or you are creating a piece of pottery at a class, or you go to a paint and sip, whatever it happens to be, do something creative that keeps you in the right mindset and allows you to then think about the things that you want as you're doing other things, and you can come back to it with that fresh creativity, but still in that creative vein. So if it's a small problem, go clean your house, go do something around what you're already doing, and make sure you're not wasting your time. It's a good use of your time. We don't want you just sitting at your computer, staring at it, hoping that the words come. We want you to be effective. So as Claire mentioned, go clean your house, go do other things that you're already going to have to do. Go do the chores, go do some cooking, go meal prep, go do something that's going to be effective for you, so that when it does come back to you, now you've already gotten that other stuff out of the way, you can come back in without that overarching looming fear of not getting the rest of your workday done. This is going to be a really great opportunity for you to expand what you're doing, to stay in that creative vein, to also be time effective and time efficient, and to make sure that you are making the most out of your time during the day. Let's jump into our next.
I'm going to give you the best piece of writing advice that I was never given. And it's only something I discovered myself when I was deep into my career. You need to write for yourself. By that I don't mean that you need to write without taking into account marketing or trends or anything like that. If you want to publish, that's something you need to be aware of. It's just that if you don't write for yourself, if you don't write a book that you're interested in and that entertains you, you're not going to finish it.
The really valuable takeaway from that is twofold. You need to write for yourself so that you will actually finish it. As humans, we do not have the capacity to really just throw ourselves into a project if we're not passionate about it, if it doesn't have some kind of connection to us. If we do not have the ability to really invest into what we're writing, we're probably not going to finish it. But we also need to take into consideration the market. We cannot just be writing on whims. We can't just do things because we feel like doing them. We can do things that we feel like doing, but we have to understand how it's going to fit into the market and then put that into our writing as we go. You can absolutely write what you are drawn to, what you want to see, what you haven't seen in the market. You can write whatever feels good and comfortable to you and inspires you, but you have to do it in a way where you have clearly researched this industry and you understand how your sidestep of a story does fit into the market. So you don't have to write specifically to market, because if you just write to market and you don't have that connection to it, you're not going to finish it, or it's going to be a struggle to get there, and then it's going to be less rewarding in the end. But you do have to understand how your passions, how your whims, how your feelings, how your emotions will then fit into selling your project. Because remember, we're writing novels. And while I can write a novel in 2 weeks, most people cannot. And even if you write as fast as me, 2 weeks is a still very long time to be investing into a novel that may or may not sell. So if you are just writing on whims and with your feelings and emotions, and you don't understand how it's going to fit into the market, you've now spent weeks to months to even years creating something that you now cannot sell. You cannot get that time back. You cannot change things to make it work. You cannot fix it. So we want to make sure going into it with the mindset of, I want to write this because XYZ, here's how I'm going to make sure it fits into a market. Making sure what you've created fits into a market rather than necessarily writing specifically to the market absolutely can be done, but has to be done strategically. You do not want to just sit there and say, I'm going to write whatever and then hope and pray that it sells. Chances are it won't. Or if it does, it will be to a very small niche down sector, and you're not going to make back enough money to at least cover your time. So you got to make sure you understand how it's going to fit. And the thing is, it may not fit entirely. It doesn't have to fit entirely. It just has to fit enough that you can market it well to make those sales. So that could mean you have your idea, you have the things that you want to do, and you have to add in little bits and pieces, little touches of tropes, little bits of different genres to make sure that it's going to fit somewhere so that people can understand it enough to buy it. This means 90% of it can be your whims and your feelings and your emotions, and 10% can be marketing so that you have more of an ability to sell it later on. You have to be strategic. Writing is not an emotional process. Yes, we're emotionally connected to it, but it is not an emotional process that we then hope and pray will sell later. It is business decisions that inform the emotions with which you are going to be writing. But there's more.
There's a lot of writing advice out there, and some of it's good, some of it's bad, but mostly writing advice comes down to what you write, how you write, and why you're writing. But the 2 pieces of advice I could give that I think applies to most people writing fiction are, first of all, write what you're passionate about. Write what that younger person in you who loves to read would want to read. Get excited about your words. If you can entertain yourself, you can entertain other people. And the second piece of advice I would give is to write to emotion. What emotions do you want to evoke with your story? People want to feel something, so give them something to feel.
So often we treat writing as an us experience, our emotional experience, what we want to write a book about. We talk about how we feel, our creative process, what we're going through, why we want to put it out, and we don't necessarily think of our readers. Of course we think of marketing. Of course we think of how we're going to sell it and how we're going to introduce it to our audience and how our niches and our genres and our tropes are all going to impact our sales, but the vast majority, or at least a very good part of what we are doing as we're writing, is evoking that emotion from our readers. We want them to understand and to connect with this book and connect with these characters and have these emotions and experiences with what we're writing. And all of that determines our writing, our marketing, and our sales. People buy on emotions. People don't buy because it makes sense. People buy because of how they feel. This is a whole business conversation that we can have here, and we have it a lot on this channel and my main channel. People buy based on those emotions. The fear of missing out on things. They buy because something's going to make their life easier. It's going to make them happy. It's going to remove some kind of sadness or upset feelings. We buy, we make our choices in life based on emotions. And so as we're creating our stories, crafting them to evoke emotions from our readers will not only allow them to connect better with our stories, but allow them to make the choice to buy our book. If we can connect with those emotions in our book blurbs, if we can connect with the first chapter, with the blurb on the background, with all of those, or the back cover of our book, if we can connect with the words that we're writing in our marketing and the videos we're putting on TikTok and all those things, that's going to allow them to take action, to make the choice to say, this is a good fit for me. Emotions of our readers are incredibly important. Yes, it matters what we think of our books, but it matters more what they think of our books in terms of whether or not they're going to connect. So we have to be very smart about how we write and how we market our books. It's all about evoking those emotions from readers. Getting very clear and very specific on which emotions they are. If you're writing, what do you want them to feel? Do you want them to have a happy, lovely rom-com where they're just going to feel good and they're going to get a happily ever after experience at the end of the story where everybody's in a good place in life and all the things are happening right? Do you want to rip their heart out and put it in a blender? Are you an author like me who's just plain evil and wants to make the reader throw the book across the room in agony at the end of your stories? What do you want? And then how can you market it to make sure that they are connecting with it in your marketing, and then at the beginning of your stories, you're hooking them in with your writing. We have to be incredibly clear and realize, once again, it's not about us. It's not about our passions. It's not about our whims and our fantasies. It is about how we are connecting with people. Storytelling is all about connection. Storytelling is all about having those emotional bonds with people, being able to relate over similar concepts and topics, being able to have a conversation about what we experience together as a collective group. So making sure we understand our readers' emotions and making sure that we pay attention to how we are crafting our books and our marketing to make sure that we're making that emotional connection with our audience even before they get to our book, from our cover design that they see across the room, to the blurb on the back of the cover, to our marketing, to our TikToks, to our Instagram Reels, to our YouTube videos, to everything that we are doing. How are we connecting with our audience? Okay, but now that we understand that we have to connect with our audience, we also have to understand how to communicate with our audience. So let's talk about it.
Hi, I'm Amber Abdul, author of adult and young adult fantasy romance. My biggest piece of advice for authors would be to have a quick summary of your book ready to go so that when someone asks you what your book is about, you can tell them in 1 or 2 sentences and hook them right away.
When it comes to communicating what your book is about, this is the best possible advice, because if you don't understand your book, I'm certainly not going to understand your book, and your readers will certainly not understand your book to be able to make the choice to buy your book. You have to understand what your book is about in the boiled down essence of it. What is the biggest draw? What is the hook that's going to get my attention? I don't need backstory. I don't need all of the other things. This is not a bullet point list of what's going on in your story. I just need to know what this is going to be about. I need to know the very surface level, the very high level look at this. What is your story about? And so we talk a lot about this on the channel. We talk about how you can be crafting your elevator pitch to make sure that you are clearly communicating what is in your book. We want to make sure that you've got the longer version that you can pitch people with, but we really have to narrow this down. So we're actually reverse engineering this. We're creating a paragraph about it, and then we're whittling it away until we get to the sole sentence that's going to communicate what this is. And you're looking for 1 to 2 sentences. You want to be very, very clear about this. And then if people ask more, you can explain more. You can add more onto it. So we're starting with that base sentence or 2 base sentences. And then if they progress down the conversation line where they're asking more about it, you can tell more about it. But you have to give me the essence of this story. We want to know exactly what's happening. So for example, I have a Goldilocks retelling, and I could tell you all the amazing things that happen inside of this Goldilocks story, but if you walk up to me in an elevator, or you see me in a hotel, or you're at a restaurant, and you overhear me talking about my author life, and you ask me what that book is about, I'm going to tell you Goldilocks was sent on a mission, and Dove Bear is her new target. She was never naive. In fact, I usually add on that tagline, Goldilocks was never naive. She was sent on a mission, and Dove Bear is her new target. Now you very clearly can tell that my Goldilocks is not some weak, passive girl who just stumbled upon a house and set up camp and then ran away when the bear showed up. She was sent there for a purpose, and it was not a good purpose, and she is targeting the Bear family. Now you've got a lot of information, and that gets your attention. I could tell you about my Cinderella assassin story, and I could tell you all the things that happened because, man, I got some good stuff in there. I got some good stuff in there. But instead, I'm just going to tell you Cinderella was an assassin sent to the ball, but the prince is hunting her too. Now you know the basics of this, and I can expand on that. I can say Cinderella was sent to the ball by her master to assassinate the king and the prince on his engagement party. She runs away, and the nanobot mask flies off of her face, so the next day when he runs into her, he does not recognize her and now forces her and her skills to help him find the would-be assassin, who is her, and she's still hunting him, but he's hunting her too. Now I've given you more information. You can see how I expanded that a little bit if people ask, or if I have a slightly longer opportunity to speak to people, but it's still a very condensed amount of time. Understanding the essence of your book, that tagline, that little pitch that you're going to be giving them is going to make or break a lot of your book sales. You want to very clearly be able to communicate this. And the biggest thing here is not only to craft this, but to memorize it. So I want you to sit down and I want you to write this out. Whatever your pitch is, cues for this, your 1 to 2 sentence elevator pitch, and then memorize it so that if somebody walks up to you in an elevator, they find out that you're an author because maybe you're holding a box of your books and you're off to a book signing. They say, what's your book about? You can just easily say it, even though you're distracted, even though you have other things. You're holding a big box of books, your pens are falling out of the box that you're going to be signing with later, and you're struggling. You can still communicate what that is very clearly. You can go on autopilot, which means you don't have to stress about any of these things, and it takes a lot of the fear out of a conversation about your book. Understanding what your book is about and being able to clearly communicate that is going to be make or break when it comes to the success of your sales. Whether it is an in-person conversation, you're talking on social media, you're putting a blurb on your website, whatever it is, you've got to be able to clearly communicate that so that you can make those sales. Now, if you liked all of this advice from these fabulous authors, go ahead and let me know down below. Tell me one thing that you learned and one thing that you're hoping to get advice on from other author friends of mine. I am going to be doing this again, and I'll be bringing on new people to give new advice to you. So if you have a specific area of the industry you want to learn more about, now's the time to drop it down below. I will help you out and get some really cool experts, award-winning authors, multi-time bestsellers. We're going to get them all in here to get those questions answered for you. And every person that's talking here is highly qualified. They've done this again and again and again. They have a proven track record of success. They understand the strategies that they are using and how to then help you to do this as well. So we're not just bringing in anybody off the street. We're not bringing in the newbies. We're not bringing in people who are not experienced or have a proven track record. We're bringing in people who truly can help you and make a difference in your publishing life. So drop the areas of concern down below and we will bring in experts to have these conversations with you. Hit the subscribe and notification bell because every single day we're dropping brand new videos to help you level up in the writing and reading world and become more profitable this year inside of your brand and business so that you can thrive in the publishing space. We'll see you in the next episode.